Okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Hi,
here we go.
good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Fatima. How are ya?
I'm excellent. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. My gosh, another week. No, it's actually been what, 2 weeks?
I know. We finally got
Two
over the
weeks.
colds. It was first me and then you, and then here we
I know.
are.
Man, it wiped me out. I don't know about you, but it wiped me out. I just couldn't believe it. I didn't even leave my house, which is super, super rare.
Oh, that yeah, I know, because you're like a machine. I know. My first,
Well, and here's the other part. Guess what? For 3 days, no, almost four, not a single cup of coffee. That's what tells you for sure that
say
I was sick. Because you know me, I got to have at least three a day.
that is crazy. Yep.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, what are you seeing out there? What's going on?
It's an interesting time. I mean, the
It is.
inventory, isn't it crazy? It's like the inventory is really low, but the demand is also not as high as it was, even with low inventory markets. So seeing that, so sellers, it's still not a buyer's market completely. Maybe some areas are more so.
Sure.
Some areas, I think it's more the home. Like if it's a certain property that is appealing to most people and has all the boxes that are checked off by most people and it's actually remodeled and nice, those are the ones, and the layout's really good, those are the ones that are actually really going, like, if it had
Yes.
fast. But everything else is kind of taking its time, and buyers are being picky. They're taking their time. They realize that when it's time, when they find the right place, it's going to happen. And then sellers,
What
I'm
do you say to them, by the way, on that note, when they're being picky? Are they being overly picky? Are they going to miss the bus?
it's hard to say. I just think that, because buying a home is such a big thing. Like you don't buy a home on a regular basis.
Largest. Yeah.
So I always say, if it doesn't spark you joy, if it's a property that doesn't, even if it needs work, if it doesn't like give you a compelling reason to put an offer in, I just say, just don't, because you don't want to get into
Yeah.
something that you're unsure about. So I'm big on
Yeah.
like,
You don't want to have buyer's remorse. That's for sure.
you want to have buyer's remorse. So I say, look, you either will feel it or you don't, right? If you feel it, then put an offer. And if you don't, it's gonna work out. It always does. It always.
Yeah, I agree with that because there's a certain sense. Yes, it's going to be the biggest financial transaction you do, but it's also an emotional one, and it's also a lifestyle one, and it's also at the end of the day, it's a quality of life decision as well because you got to live in it.
You do. And it's a huge decision. So, I mean,
Huge.
I just would say, when it comes to someone buying a property, please feel it. Like if you feel it, it's almost like that weird. I always say this. It's like that weird feeling. Like you'll feel it. It's like the one. Like you feel like okay. Like you feel a connection to the house, and
Yep.
it's always that. I mean, you might not get that property that you always feel a connection on, but you only submit offers on the ones that you actually feel excited about. How about
Yeah,
you?
I agree with that.
How's it going on your end? Like I know that the rates are still really low. I realize that, you know, people have always a lot of questions like what sources of down payment? Like
Yeah.
what
First off, rates, you're right. Rates are super, super low. We're at historic lows. It's unbelievable that we're still in the threes. It's incredible. Nobody saw this coming this low, including me. And you know me, I'm a kind of a technical geek. I like to geek out and watch the markets and the technicals at all times. And man, I'm just shocked that we're still in the threes. That's lasted this long. First off, that we hit the threes, and then that it's lasted this long. So rates still great. And as you know, the lower the rate, the more you qualify for, the more horsepower you have as far as purchasing power. But as far as sources of down payment, look, there's several sources of down payment. You can either go if you happen to be within the what's called the AMI, the area median income, then you might be able to qualify for what's called a down payment assistance loan program. You can do that and partner it up with BMRs, which are the below market rate. So that's one. The cities, if they have the money, then you can go online and go check out every single city. I would definitely check that out if you qualify, if your income is lower than the average, right? So that's one. The second part is friends and family. That is a huge source. And sometimes, you can get very creative with that. And what I mean by that is, so let's say somebody's going to gift you money. You might want to say, look, I know it's a gift, but in the future, when I refinance, I'll put a little equity in for you as my token of saying thank you very much for helping me out buy this house, right? So that's another one. That's something that you can get creative with. And then The other is that certain programs will allow you, like an FHA will allow you to have an employer gift you some money, right? And then you can always get a nonprofit to gift you money depending on your situation. But what I'm seeing mostly are people going to their friends and family to
Really?
get down payment money. Yeah, even people with a lot of income. The problem with the high income is that if you don't have a tax write-off, then think about this: half of it's going to go to Uncle Sam. Then you have a high-paying rent, and then you have a car payment, and then you're eating out 2 to 3 times a week. There goes all your money. You have
Mhm.
no down payment at that point. So I'm seeing a lot of people with really great incomes going to their friends and family.
Interesting. Also, do you see a lot of people using their 401k to help with their down payment these days?
That's a really great question, because the answer is absolutely a resounding yes. So here's how it works. When you have a 401k, do not liquidate the funds, because if you're less than 59 and a half, you're going to take a 10% penalty and you're going to pay income taxes on it. So what you do is you take out a loan against your 401k. And typically you can take out 50% of the vested amount. Now, we in the mortgage industry do not count that as debt. Why? Because you're borrowing your own money. You're going to pay yourself back at a quote unquote rate of return to pay yourself back. And so we don't count that as debt. So that's a fantastic source for
Hmm.
down payment money, is the 401k.
Say someone has $50,000 in their 401k. It's pretty much 49%. Is that the rate, the percentage of what you can borrow
No,
against
it's typically 50, so 25 in this case. Yeah,
25,000? Okay. So, I
yeah,
mean, which could definitely help. And then what's the lowest
absolutely.
down payment someone can put down on purchasing a house if it's their first time buying a home?
Yeah, 3% is really the lowest that you can do. But again, if you happen to be within a certain income qualifier, you can qualify for down payment assistance on that 3%, and you can use what's called FHA. It
What
just
if
depends on your situation.
Okay, what if someone is already currently like they're currently a homeowner, but they
Yep.
want to buy somewhere, like they want to buy somewhere else because of location, or they want to upgrade, or how what's the minimum down payment for someone if they're rebuying for their own?
And now, is this to live in it or is it as a second home?
Why don't we cover both to live in it first? Yeah, first to live in it.
Okay, so to live in it, again, it'd be the 3%, because you're going to own or occupy that. Now, as a second home, you're going to be in the 5 to 10% range.
Okay,
Now,
so
keep in mind, everybody, that there are two types of loans. Essentially, you have the conventional loan, which goes up to, in the high balance or high priced area, 765,000 and change. And anything above that is considered to be the second category, which is a jumbo loan. Now, on jumbo loans, I happen to have a program where you can go 5% down all the way to 2 million with no mortgage insurance. And then I also have a 10% down to 3 million with no mortgage insurance. Rates are slightly higher, but those are available for those folks who have good income but are a little bit lacking on the down payment.
Okay. So I noticed that sometimes there's some folks that are super organized and get pre-approved right away and
Yeah.
just before they start shopping. And there's a lot of folks that go to the open houses and take a lot of time looking at properties, but looking at properties in different price ranges and really don't know what their qualification is. How long does it take to get pre-approved or pre-qualified to just get those answers? Because there's a lot of time invested. I always recommend when someone's looking at properties, if you want to know, even if you're a year or two out, really just spend an hour, do the application. It doesn't cost you a thing, and then get the answers you need. So then when you are looking, you're looking within your price range, right?
Yeah, look, you got to know your numbers. The last thing you want to do is fall in love with a property you don't qualify for, right? Because it's an effort and futility. You're basically wasting your own time and everybody else's. What you want to do is you definitely want to know your numbers. My job is to make sure that I calculate the maximum purchase price that you qualify for based on your financials and your capacity. And that takes, depending on the amount of volume of business that's coming in, it can take anywhere from an hour to 24 hours.
Okay. And does it cost
It's
anything?
fast. No,
Okay. And
no,
is there
there's
a
no
commitment?
application fees, nothing.
Is
What's
there
that?
like are people obligated to do anything? Like,
No, they're not. They're not. They're not obligated. And there's some lenders out there that charge an application fee. I do not. I think that if my value proposition isn't strong enough, then you're going to go somewhere else. But of course, I have to make sure that my value proposition is so high that you feel compelled to work with me, right? Because I'm a relationship person, been in the business for a long time. I know what I'm doing, and I have more importantly your best interest at heart, just like you do for your clients.
Absolutely. Well, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can email me, very easy, ed at Kuno Advisors. Kuno is spelled with a Kun as in Nancy, O, advisors with an S.com. That's probably the best way, or you can text me, 415-368-1149. And how do they get a hold of you in case they want to start going to look at properties once pre-approved?
All right. So my email is my first initial last name. So FNIKCHEHI at gmail.com. And you can call or text me at 415-756-4418. Thank you
Well,
guys.
as always, always great to see you.
Great
Always
to hear
chock full
you.
of information. We appreciate it. Have a great
Okay.
day.
Have a good one. Okay.